Hey guys, David from Sunday Sounds here. Today we're going to be looking back at 2020. Now I'm sure for you, just like for me, it hasn't been the year that I was expecting come January 1, but we have seen so much good come out of this year in churches and worship teams all around the world. And we are really excited about the stuff that we've been able to do this year as well. So today we're going to be taking a look back. We've done some research. We've looked at some of the most popular content that we've put out, free tutorials that have been watched by folks like you. I'm going to be sharing and looking back at some of that content, giving a little insight into the process behind those videos. And I'm going to be giving you a little bit of a sneak peek at what's to come in the early part of 2021, which I'm really excited to share with you. So let's look back at this year. Let's hang out for a little bit and then look forward to next year. All right, guys, so we're going to be really informal today. We're on Christmas break. The year is over. If you're like me, you were exhausted and you just want to sit down for a while and watch some TV. So that's literally what we're going to do. I've got a document here on my computer with some of the videos that you guys have watched the most that we've put out this year. And we're going to just talk through them really quickly. Just watch little snippets of each of them. I'll share a little bit of behind the scenes from some of these. And then at the end of the video, or towards the end, we're going to get into a little bit of a sneak peek at some new stuff that's coming in January. So let's start off right at the top here. One of the most popular videos that you guys watched the most this year was actually how to record a remote worship team video. And I was not expecting this year, like I said at the top of the video. I'm sure you weren't either, but we were so excited in the midst of uncertainty, in the midst of really tough times, to see so many churches work hard to innovate and to still find points of connection with their worship teams. And so many churches did this by having their worship band members actually record individual parts of a worship song or entire worship sets, and then stitch them together to create these compilation videos featuring the whole worship band worshiping from their separate homes. So we put out a video right after lockdown hit that covered how to do this. So Jeremy here from the team did all of the work behind the scenes of putting together these recommended tips for how you can approach this. This video went over the gear and the setup that you needed, how to communicate to people the way that they should record themselves so that it's as easy as possible to stitch everything together. A lot of folks ended up just doing this thing using their mobile phones, using their iPhones or their Android phones, just telling people, it doesn't have to sound perfect. It just has to be in time. It has to be in sync, and we can make everything come together in post-production. So it was really cool to actually be able to see the end results of these sort of phone compilation videos all come together. So this video is linked in the description if you still need a resource like this. All right, next let's talk about a couple of MainStage tutorials. This first one is called How to Set Up Simple Backing Tracks in MainStage 3 using the Playback plugin. This one was really cool because this is something that we've known is possible to do in MainStage for a really long time. And we've always just told people, you can check out MainStage's own documentation to figure out how to do this. We had one really old video that was almost 5 years old, which was me just giving a really brief rundown of how I would do it at my own church. But we'd never done an in-depth walkthrough of how to run the whole process of setting up your tracks in Logic Pro, bouncing them out, loading them into the Playback plugin, bringing that into MainStage. So we go over the settings for how to bounce stuff out of Logic so that the Playback plugin can actually read it, and then we get inside of MainStage. So once you know how to bounce stuff out of Logic in the proper format with markers in place, then MainStage actually picks up all of that information automatically, and you can manipulate it really well, sync it up to the tempo, to MainStage's built-in metronome. It's not really intuitive because none of this is spelled out unless you go digging into MainStage's documentation. So this video was really fun to do to finally sort of demystify that, because we'd been telling people, yeah, this is totally possible, but we didn't have a single resource that walked people through the whole process. And from here, this actually spun into our live tracks add-on for Sunday Keys for MainStage itself, which we added on. Yeah, so we took that concept of being able to do this with a track, and then we created this module that you can load into Sunday Keys for MainStage and actually control up to 16 tracks simultaneously. You can jump around the arrangement, still fully synced to the tempo. You can loop sections. You can add as many markers as you want. This year, when we saw so many folks needing to lead worship from home, felt like a really natural time to make this functionality more accessible and easier because to set this up from scratch every time you need to use tracks takes a lot of time, but to have this sort of go-to module that's ready to use at any time makes it a lot less complicated to set up. So one of the biggest surprises of the entire history of Sunday Sounds has been the response to the worship beats concept that we put out the first volume of several years ago. It was just turning one of the sections of Sunday Keys for MainStage into this drum loop that you could change in real time because the sequence happens and is fired in real time. We actually put out volume 4 during this year, and this video just shows that it's possible, again, because it's not something that MainStage really talks about being possible, right? It's something that you can do. Most people know that you can, but it's not really spelled out how to achieve it at the moment. So I've got a low cut, I can thin it out, or I can take off the high end, and I can bring different elements of the loop in or out in real time. So this is in Sunday Keys itself. We've got sounds in 3 of the 4 sections, and then the 4th section actually has the worship beats sound in it. So bringing up that fader brings in the beats in that moment for the first time. And I'm using my Nano Control 2 to adjust the character of the beat in the moment. Okay, so next let's talk about Ableton Live. It's been a huge year for Ableton Live in terms of interest we've seen. This video explains some of the big picture reasons that folks might choose to use Ableton Live specifically. So it's a great video that talks about the different versions of Ableton Live, talks about some of the biggest reasons that churches might be drawn to this software or to a specific version of the software, and then it even talks about some specific things that you might want to avoid. Okay, let's take a look at one more Ableton Live video. This video has been really popular for folks who are debating, should I go with MainStage or should I go with Ableton Live if your primary focus is setting up a keys rig. And I think folks that are already using one software or the other are going to advocate for the software that they're currently using, but there's real pros and cons on both sides. So this video lays them out point by point. We talk about the budget, and we talk about the sounds, the plugins, and the effects that are included in Ableton Live, because it's a big difference comparing that to something like MainStage or even to something like Logic Pro. Then we talk about the workflow of setting up a live performance. This video is a nice sort of technical explanation of the pros and cons that doesn't get too deep. Let's talk about a couple of keys tutorials. So this video is a beginner's guide to worship pads. So this video really ended up being refreshing and helpful for even myself and for others here on the team as we were thinking about how to explain this. We spend a lot of time in this video with an EQ open, just talking about the different kinds of sounds instantly in the mix. It could get pretty muddy over time if I started to introduce a lot more notes or add in additional layers. So sometimes I'll start the song with a dark, and then we got into layering pads in with other instruments as well, and how you can do that in a way that's tasteful, that doesn't overwhelm, and that is purely additive and not actually pushing other instruments out of the way or getting in the way of even other layers of your own keys patch. Okay, let's check out another one here. This is choosing the right piano for worship. We were able to talk about some of the piano sounds that we added to Sunday Keys 2021 for MainStage and Ableton Live. But more than just talking about our own work and the sounds that we have available, this was a video where we talked about the different kinds of processing and the different effects and the different types of pianos themselves, how you can identify them, build sort of vocabulary or just a familiarity in your ear with identifying these types of sounds, so that when you're trying to approximate a piano sound you're hearing on a recording, you know what sorts of processing to apply, what sort of piano to use as your starting point, and that sort of thing. So this video gave some really concrete audio examples. We talked about the most expensive plugins all the way down to the stuff that's included in the software you're using, and alternatives or options in between, both stuff from us here at Sunday Sounds and third-party plugins that you can choose to use. So here's some of the most common types of piano sounds. This is like a classic grand piano sound that you'd hear in worship music. This is a more compressed piano, like a smashed grand piano sound with really strong compression, sort of squashing everything together. And then here we've got a demo of an upright piano sound, which is very distinct and different in its feel, in the body, and the size compared to a grand piano sound. All right, one more keys tutorial here. This is how to use synth leads for worship keys players. Synth lead sounds are hard to design as a sound designer. It's some of the most difficult types of sounds to actually get to sit right in the mix and feel satisfying to play and to hear are lead sounds. The result, I think, ended up being really helpful, being really practical. Whether you're using sounds in Sunday keys, you're using stock MainStage or Ableton Live presets, or if you're using something awesome like Omnisphere, massive stuff from Native Instruments or somewhere else, there's just basic principles of what makes a lead sound work or not work that you can apply across any collection of sounds, any collection of presets. So one of the biggest things about lead sounds that people don't think about is whether they want their lead sound to be polyphonic, like you'd expect from a pad or a piano where you're able to play multiple notes at the same time, or if you want a monophonic lead that's just gonna follow the most recently pressed note. Most often, I think people think they want every note to respond as it's played. They want a polysynth lead, but for a lot of layered patches, especially if you can set the range of the lead sound correctly, using a monophonic synth lead sound can actually make it a lot more playable during a live performance because the lead sort of gets out of the way of itself in real time, since only one note is being held, only one note is audible. As you move around that lead part, it's automatically clearing out or leaving behind space as you move notes around. If you want to check out these keys tutorials, they are all linked in the description of this video. All right, next, let's jump into another category here. Let's talk about gear. We've done a few gear review videos this year, or gear concept, gear focused videos, and the most popular one by far was not at all controversial, and worship leaders don't like to talk about it. From Sunday Sounds here. So today we're gonna talk about something that became a little bit of an obsession of mine several years ago, and that was finding the best budget in-ear monitors for my own worship team. Up until about 5 years ago, in-ear monitors were just, we talked about in-ear monitors on a budget in this video. And for this video, I just used my personal stash of the most trendy budget Amazon in-ear monitors that I had acquired over the last several years. I remember 5 years or so ago, maybe, these really incredibly low priced in-ear monitors first started to get buzz on Facebook groups, worship leading or worship musician groups, and everybody would jump from one model to the next, following the trends of what was the cheapest and what sounded the best and what came with the best cable and which you could afford to buy for your whole worship team. And I just had acquired so many of them over time. So in this video, I just went through all of the ones that I had already in my closet, in my gear drawer, and I just talked about whether I liked them or not. This video was really, really popular and quite controversial. You should check out the comments if you want to see lots and lots of differing opinions on personal preference. And I hate to break it to you, but we're gonna go there again in 2021 with an even bigger batch. We have researched now the most popular, most highly reviewed budget in-ear monitors that we could find ever anywhere online, and we bought all of them pretty much, and we're going to review them, talk about the fit, the quality, the value for how much it costs, all of that. So stay tuned for that video early 2021. All right, let's check out another one here. So this was sort of our flagship entry-level top-down view of setting up a worship keys rig from scratch, even if you have absolutely no prior experience. And this video went really deep. It's 25 minutes long. We talk about the very basic concepts, even making the decision of whether or not a software keys rig is right for you. Then we explain the different types of sounds that you might need to use, how to connect all of your hardware together, how to avoid spending money unnecessarily. We talk about the most common software options, MainStage and Ableton Live, and how to get everything set up from the ground level all the way to your first successful live performance. All right, let's check out one more here. This video is a really important one because oftentimes, if you're like me and you're just starting out setting up your keys rig, you're hoping to use the computer that you already own. That's how I got started out. I started with a 2012 13-inch MacBook Pro with 8 gigs of RAM. I downloaded MainStage and did everything I could to squeeze all of the functionality possible out of that computer. And it served me well for several years. I actually built the very first version of Sunday Keys back in 2015 and 2016 using that computer. But the computer landscape is constantly changing and evolving. At the time I'm shooting this video, we're in the middle of all of this new hype about Apple Silicon, the M1 chip, what it means for the new MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, and Mac Mini that were announced by Apple just recently. A lot of folks think it's going to end up being a game changer for live keys players that makes it possible for folks to afford doing this at an even lower cost than ever before without having to go to the used market. I actually happen to be one of those people. I am super excited about the M1 chip and the new high performance, lower cost options that something like the MacBook Air now presents to a MainStage or Ableton Live user. Okay, so that's the bottom of the list. These are the top videos that you guys watched during this year. So if you'd like to check any of these out in full, there's gonna be links in the description so you can check them out over your Christmas break, or if you're watching this in January as you get started into the new year. Leave a comment and let us know which of these videos was most helpful, and let us know what video content you'd like to see in 2021 that we haven't done yet, or maybe there's a really old video that you'd like to see updated with new information. Now, speaking of 2021, the next big thing I want to do in this video is just give you a sneak peek of some of what we've been working on that's going to be releasing in January. Specifically, we are putting out the second bi-monthly update to Sunday Keys 2021 for MainStage and Ableton Live. Now, I can't share everything that's coming in this update, but we are really excited about all the new stuff that's planned, all of the new sounds that are going to be headed the way of every Sunday Keys 2021 owner. If you're not familiar with Sunday Keys, it's our flagship worship keys template available in MainStage and Ableton Live formats. And every 2 months for the life cycle of Sunday Keys 2021, we are releasing an update to the sound library, adding new worship patches that are available to you in Sunday Keys. So the sneak peek here for the January update, we have been working hard on a couple of instruments that I am super excited about, specifically some custom sampled electric guitar sounds. Now, these are designed as a supplement to and really an upgrade over the stock guitar sounds that are available in MainStage and Ableton Live. So if you find yourself without a guitarist, or perhaps you have one guitarist, so you need to cover the rhythm parts or the lead parts while your guitarist does the rest of the guitar work, and you're on the keys position, it's been pretty difficult without buying an expensive plugin or just letting the track handle the auxiliary guitar parts. We wanted to make it easier for folks to do this from the keys position. So actually multi-sampled guitar parts here to create custom sampled instruments. So this first one is called the Custom Jet Guitar. I'm gonna show you what it sounds like. Got 2 round robins and 2 velocity layers for a really nice playing experience that's really expressive, but is also really efficient for live performances. Turn on some overdrive here. Bring the reverb up all the way and turn on some shimmer, and then you actually get this sort of swell effect. Put some delay back in. This next tremolo. So really exciting to bring this fully custom sampled guitar to Sunday Keys in January. We also created this guitar trem pad, which is just a really immediately familiar, awesome ambient sound. This type of sound is used all over modern worship, but to have it from the keys position to be able to play as a pad is just really cool. Okay, one more, and this one's still in progress. We are continuing to expand the experimental category of sounds that we added back in November. This is a new sound category entirely for Sunday Keys. And this is just cool, quirky, experimental sounds that are just lots of fun to take your layered patches into new directions. This one's called Felt Pluck. This is another multi-sampled, multiple velocity layer, custom sampled instrument that's just really cool. Really cool, surprisingly expressive. I find it really inspiring to play, and I love that it doesn't really have a container of what you'd hear commonly in worship music. It's something that's just unique. Let's just take all three of these new sounds, even though the Felt Pluck hasn't been sectioned out yet. It's not mapped to Sunday Keys, but it will be by January. Okay, so that's just a few of all the new sounds that are coming to Sunday Keys in the January update, which will be released mid-January of 2021. So if you don't already own Sunday Keys 2021, there's a link in the description. Everybody that owns the full version of Sunday Keys will receive these new sounds automatically. They'll be sent to all the owners in mid-January. And again, that's Ableton Live and MainStage formats, getting these and a bunch more new sounds. All right, folks, so I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Lastly, as we sign off and sort of try to wrap a bow around this year, we just want to thank you for your continued support of our work. We are humbled by the opportunity to create resources, both paid products and free resources that we hope make an impact for you in some small way in your churches and your worship teams. We are so thankful and inspired by the faithful way that you have served your church, your worship teams, your congregations through 2020, and we pray grace and peace and blessing be on you as we move forward into a new year. And we are praying and believing for new things and for a year that is more than, that brings more happiness, that brings new things into the life of you and your family and your church community. So we wouldn't exist without you. We're so thankful for you. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and we thank you for sticking with us through 2020. Let's go take on 2021 together.